Hello everyone, I am Sinchana from CSC branch SVCE College, Bangalore. Today I am here to present the topic F distribution in maths. Introduction to F distribution. The F distribution is a probability distribution that arises in context of statistical inference. It is used to test hypotheses about variances of two or more populations. The F distribution is defined by two degrees of freedom parameters, numerator degrees of freedom and denominator degrees of freedom. F distribution, named after its developer Ronald Fisher, is a probability distribution that arises frequently the null distribution of a test static, most notability in an analysis of variance, ANOVA, and the regression analysis. It's commonly used to compare a variances or test hypothesis about the equality of means from multiple groups. The shape of the distribution depends on two degrees of freedom parameters, one of the numerator and one of the denominator. It's skewed to the right and often used in hypothesis testing to determine if there are significant differences between groups. Properties of the F distribution. The F distribution is always positive and skewed to the right. It has infinite range starting from 0 and extending to positive infinity. The shape of F distribution depends on the degrees of freedom. Relationship with chi-square distribution. The F distribution is related to the chi-square distribution. If x and y are independent chi-squared random variables with degrees of freedom n1 and n2, respectively, then x bar n1 divided by y of bar n2 follows an F distribution with n1 and n2 degrees of freedom. This relationship often used in hypothesis testing and analysis of variance. Next, advantages of F distribution in statistical analysis. Versatility. It is applicable in various statistical tests, including ANOVA regression analysis and the analysis of the covariance. This makes it a versatile tool for comparing variances or testing hypotheses about means across multiple groups. Flexibility. The F distribution allows for testing hypotheses involving a multiple groups or factors, making it useful complex experimental designs where comparisons need to be made across a different treatments or conditions. Power. It is a most powerful than other tests, particularly when comparing means from more than two groups. This means it's better able to detect a two differences when they exist, reducing the likelihood of type 2 errors. False negatives. Robustness. The F test is robust to violations of normality assumptions and relatively unaffected by outliers, make it sustainable for analyzing data may not be strict normality requirements. The F distribution is a valuable to statistical analysis due to versatility, power, flexibility in the various testing scenarios. Probability density function. It means a PDF of the F distribution. The PDF of the F distribution is a mathematical function that describes the probability of a different values occurring. It is defined for a non-negative values of the random variable. The probability density function has two parameters, numerator degrees and the denominator of the degrees of the freedom, df1, and denominator degrees of freedom, df2. Cumulative distribution function of the F distribution. The CDF of the F distribution gives the probability that a random variable is less than or equal to certain value. It is a monetically increasing function. The CDF is often used to calculate a critical values for hypothesis testing. F test for equality of variances. The F distribution is commonly used in the F test to compare the variances of it two populations. The test statistic if the ratio of the sample variances which follows an F distribution. It is used to determine if the variances are significantly different or not. Degrees of freedom in distribution. Degrees of freedom DF determine the shape and variability of the F distribution. Numerator degrees of freedom DF1 represent the number of groups being compared. Denominator degrees of freedom DF2 represent the number of observations in each group. F distribution tables. F distribution tables are used to find the critical values of for hypothesis testing. The tables provide the probability that a F statistic exceeds a certain value given the degrees of freedom. These tables are commonly available in statistical textbook and software. Confidence intervals using F distribution. The F distribution is used to construct the confidence intervals for the ratio or population variances. Confidence intervals provide a range of plausible values for the true parameter. The width of the confidence interval depends on the sample size and the variability. And last, F distribution has a many disadvantages and advantages. Some limitations and disadvantages. Sensitive to assumption. This is the disadvantage of the F distribution. Sensitive to assumptions. The F test assumes that a data flow a normal distribution and that the variances of the groups being compared are equal. Limited to continuous data. This is the another disadvantage of the F distribution. F test is typically used for the continuous data and may not be suitable for the original or ordinal data without appropriate transformation. Complex interpretation. Interpreting the results of the F test can be more complex than a simpler test, particularly for the non-statisticians. Understanding of the test and the assumptions requires some level of the statistical knowledge. Less intuitive. Unlike a simpler test, like a t-test, which compare means directly, the F-test compares the variances indirectly. The indirect comparison may be less intuitive for some users, leading to difficulties in understanding and interpreting the results. At last, disadvantage of the F distribution is limited to balanced designs. The F test is the most reliable when used for the balanced designs. When sample sizes are equal across groups, imbalanced designs can lead to reduced power and potential basis in the results. Despite these disadvantages, the F distribution remains a valuable tool in the statistical analysis, particularly for comparing variances or testing hypotheses involving multiple groups. However, researchers should be aware of the limitations and carefully consider the appropriate of its use in their specific analytical contexts. Limitations of the F distribution is being compared or the normally distribution. It is sensitive to departures from the assumption, especially for small sample sizes. Application of F distribution. The F distribution is widely used in various fields including economics, biology, engineering, and social sciences. It is used in the analysis of variance, ANOVA, to compare a means of multiple groups. It is also used in a regression analysis to test overall significance of the model. F distribution in the software packages such as the R Python and SPSS provide functions to calculate the probabilities and the critical values of the F distribution. These software packages make it easier to perform a hypothesis testing and construct the confidence intervals. They also offer a graphical representation of the F distribution. Let us conclude this topic. The F distribution is a fundamental distribution in the statistical interface. It is used to compare the variances in a test hypothesis, construct the confidence intervals, and make their inferences about their populations. Understanding the properties and the application of the F distribution is essential for conducting a rigorous statistical analysis. Thank you.